The Iceman enters the stage with a single goal: psychological destruction. Most opponents are mere statistics, but 5 specific names turn a professional match into an all-out war. Forget routine competition. This is a calculated vendetta where the dartboard is just a witness to deep-seated hatred. Gerwyn Price did not come to the PDC to make friends. He arrived to conquer. A former professional rugby player, he brought an alien level of aggression to the quiet world of darts. His massive physique and thunderous roars after every 180 changed the atmosphere of the Alexandra Palace forever. While traditionalists demand silence and etiquette, Price demands dominance. This intensity has a cost. The Welshman quickly transformed into the ultimate villain of the sport. Fans boo him, and colleagues despise his over-the-top celebrations. To Price, these reactions are fuel. However, certain rivalries transitioned from tactical mind games into genuine mutual loathing. Some players believe he lacks respect. Others claim he intentionally ruins the rhythm of the game. For Gerwyn, the feeling is mutual. He doesn't respect everyone he plays, and for 5 specific professionals, he holds a special kind of contempt that borders on a personal grudge. The rivalry between Gerwyn Price and Gary Anderson is the definitive clash of philosophies in modern darts. It isn't merely a competition. It is a collision between the old guard and the new, aggressive breed of athlete. The breaking point occurred during the 2018 Grand Slam of Darts final, an evening that remains etched in the memory of every fan in the United Kingdom. Throughout the match, Price utilized every psychological weapon in his arsenal. His celebrations were thunderous, delivered inches away from Anderson's face. The tension reached a boiling point when physical contact occurred, a notorious shoulder barge that left the Flying Scotsman visibly fuming. Anderson, a traditionalist who values silence and rhythm, was completely dismantled by Price's disruptive tactics. The aftermath was unprecedented. Price received a record-breaking £21,500 fine and a suspended 3-month ban for his behavior. Even years later, the scars remain. Anderson has publicly stated that he no longer finds the same enjoyment in the game when facing such nonsense on stage. For Gerwyn, the feeling is mutual. He views Anderson as a representative of a sensitive era that cannot handle the heat of a real battle. When these two meet, the handshake is a mere formality, often skipped or executed with visible disgust. This is a Cold War where neither side is willing to retreat. If Gary Anderson represents the silent old guard, Adrian Lewis is the explosive powder keg that Price loves to ignite. This rivalry is built on pure ego. 2 world champions, 2 massive personalities, and 0 room for compromise. The most infamous chapter occurred at the 2022 Czech Darts Open. After a tense match, Lewis leaned in during the handshake, not for a pleasantry, but to deliver a sharp verbal assault. He later labeled Price as unprofessional, sparking a social media firestorm. Lewis views himself as a naturally gifted artisan of the game, while he sees Price as a manufactured intruder using intimidation to mask technical flaws. Price, never one to back down, feeds off this elitism. He treats Lewis with visible mockery, often smirking while the jackpot struggles with his rhythm. This is a battle for playground dominance. They reject each other's presence on the big stage, turning every leg into a high-stakes psychological drama where a single wrong look can lead to an official investigation. The friction between Daryl Gurney and Gerwyn Price feels surgically cold. Unlike the loud explosions seen with Adrian Lewis, this feud thrives on mutual avoidance and sharp, calculated stabs of disrespect. They occupy similar territory in the PDC rankings, yet they exist in completely separate universes. The breaking point arrived in Sheffield during the 2019 Premier League. Following a grueling draw, the stage transformed into a psychological battleground. Gurney confronted Price over his relentless, high-decibel celebrations, leading to a standoff that required security intervention to prevent a physical escalation. This was far from a temporary flare-up. It was the manifestation of years of bottled-up resentment. Gurney, often criticized for his own moody stage presence, finds Price's theatrics intolerable and manufactured. Recent encounters, including the 2024 World Match Play, have only added fuel to the fire. Gurney has moved from silent anger to open mockery, famously imitating Price's muscle-flexing poses and even landing a light yet highly provocative kick on Price's backside during a break. For the Iceman, Gurney represents a peer who fundamentally refuses to acknowledge his status. Their matches are defined by lifeless handshakes and a heavy atmosphere. It is a rivalry where silence speaks louder than any roar, proving that these two will never find common ground. The rivalry between James Wade and Gerwyn Price is a battle of grinding persistence versus raw explosion. Wade, nicknamed the Machine, is a veteran known for his surgical precision and a notoriously difficult personality. He doesn't hide his disdain for Price's modern, loud-mouthed approach. This conflict represents a fundamental lack of mutual respect that has simmered for years behind the scenes of the PDC. The friction intensified during the period of 2018-2019, when Price was cementing his villain status. Wade, a master of the slow game, often found himself visually irritated by Price's encroachment on his space and the constant screaming in his ear. In a famous incident, Wade retaliated by celebrating aggressively right in Price's face, a move designed to show the Iceman that he wasn't the only one capable of playing dirty psychological games. Wade has often hinted in interviews that Price's success is built on intimidation rather than pure darting ability. For Price, Wade represents the gatekeepers of the old guard, players who feel threatened by his athletic intensity and refusal to follow unwritten rules. Between these two, there are no pleasantries in the practice room. Their interactions are characterized by cold nods and a shared understanding that neither values the other's contribution to the sport. It is a psychological stalemate where both players are waiting for the other to crack. The clash between Simon Whitlock and Gerwyn Price is a perfect case study in the erosion of traditional darts etiquette. Whitlock, known as the Wizard, is a veteran Australian professional who typically maintains a calm, almost zen-like focus on stage. However, Price's explosive presence at the 2018 Grand Slam of Darts pushed Whitlock to a rare state of visible agitation. This quarterfinal match became a blueprint for how Price could weaponize celebration to dismantle a focused opponent. Throughout their encounter, Price treated every successful double like a world championship winning moment. His roars were not directed at the crowd, but often directly toward Whitlock's personal space. The Australian veteran was seen shaking his head in disbelief, later suggesting that such behavior crossed the line from passion into blatant gamesmanship. Whitlock's camp hinted that Price intentionally slowed down his movement when Simon was in rhythm, only to accelerate when the momentum shifted. For the Wizard, Price's actions represent a disregard for the silent respect that has governed darts for decades. He views the Welshman as a player who relies on distracting his peers rather than outscoring them. Price, predictably, dismissed these concerns. He views Whitlock's frustration as a sign of mental weakness, a failure to adapt to the high-pressure, loud environment of modern PDC darts. To this day, matches between these two are tense and devoid of any genuine warmth, serving as a reminder that the Iceman has no intention of following the old rules of the game. The question remains, does Gerwyn Price truly hate these men, or is he playing the ultimate pantomime villain for the cameras? The truth lies somewhere in the middle. In professional darts, the psychological edge is as vital as the treble 20. Price has mastered the art of being the antagonist. He knows that his aggression creates a mental block for players like Anderson or Gurney, giving him a head start before the first leg even begins. However, the scars from these 5 rivalries go deeper than simple stagecraft. The record-breaking fines, the refused handshakes, and the social media outbursts point to a genuine chemical mismatch. Price fundamentally changed the landscape of the PDC. He destroyed the illusion of the gentlemanly game and replaced it with a combat sport mentality. These 5 players represent his greatest obstacles, not because of their scoring power, but because they refuse to bow down to his intimidation. Whether we like it or not, the Iceman has redefined what it means to be a champion. He doesn't seek approval, he seeks total submission. These 5 rivalries are the pillars of his career, proving that in the world of professional darts, sometimes you need a villain to keep the fire burning. The hatred is real, the tension is palpable, and as long as Price is on that stage, the war will continue.